Welcome, viewing several once again to my little series I like to call Hands Up, Who Loves a Train Set? I do. So today we're going to talk about Clockwork sets, maybe in general, but in particular Trying and Hornby Railways Clockwork sets. Now, I got this one very recently. My very first set, when I was about 3 or 4 years old, was a Clockwork set, and I love that set. I can't really remember very much about it, to be honest. I think it was a later one than this. I can't remember if it was this type of one or one of the much cheaper ones. Can't remember what colour the loco was. Can't remember anything about it. I remember I really liked it. And then one Christmas I got upgraded to an electric set, but it was those doorbell battery controllers. And it just never was as good. And I carried on using my Clockwork loco when I couldn't afford the batteries. So we're going to look at Clockwork sets. So I've got this one. This is RS692. This is very early days of Hornby Railways. So it's 72 or 73. What was I saying? Right, okay, well, Clockwork train sets come in different varieties. So this is like, as you can see, this is ready to run, convert to electric later. So this was a higher grade of set than you would have got with the toy sets. So I'm going to review some of the toy sets as well. Like I say, I just can't remember what one I had as a child. It's just too long ago. I was just too long to remember, too young to remember. So let's have a look inside. Right, so I bought this very cheaply. And the thing is, and this is not a complaint, it's come with a circle of larger radius Super 4 track, which is worth the price of 14 quid on its own. But I'm not going to run it on that because I really don't believe that that's what you would have got with this. You would have got System 6 track, because this is 1973 and they stopped doing this. I really don't think they would have given you this track to upgrade later. When this is Trying track from 1962 to 72. It's one of my favourite train set tracks, but I think this has been put in, you know, in the intervening years. And one of the reasons is that the early System 6 track is just terrible. It's just awful. And they sorted it out, but the one that's got the half sleeper at the end and the tiny fish plates, there's not much of that track around because it is just such rubbish. So you've seen me probably berate it in some of my other videos where I've reviewed sets from this early 70s era. So you get the level crossing. I'm not going to set that up in this demo, I'm afraid, because of space limitations. So what you get is you get this Clockwork loco. I'll just turn that on. So this is the I think this is the International tank, produced from 69 to around the mid 70s. There's a couple of variants with this 7321 number. So I can show you the black variant, which I've got. Can we see that? Yep. And then there's this variant, which is was used in the cheaper train sets with the much cheaper wagons. But I've got one of those as well. Sometimes I buy boxes of junk, and there's all sorts of things in there, and they're in terrible condition, but I get them all running. This one just needed some oil. But the good thing about this set is that you get the actual proper wagons. You don't get the silly wagons, the toy wagons. So some of the sets, they have this type of wagon that are just a single piece with these couplings. And there's nothing wrong with these. They're a good toy wagon. But this set is buy now, upgrade later, replace the loco, get a controller, use the track and wagons. So you get the open wagon, you get the vent van, and you get the ubiquitous at the time milk van. So like you would get in the electric freight set. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this up and we'll watch it run. And as much as you know how much I love this track, but this is a bigger radius. This is not the first, this is the second radius. And actually I'm delighted to have it in this condition. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a modern Hornby first radius, which is the nearest thing you would have had to this track, because you would have got system 6 track with this, and it would have been a first radius. So we're going to set that up and watch it run. And the thing is, I think you might find that Clockwork stuff like this is much more fun than you might think. Right, here we are on the track. So I'm actually, it's really hot. It's really hot in here now. So the ice has melted in my cider. So I'm drinking this nice Irish Magners. Well, I mean, I think it's Irish. It's probably brewed in this country. It's really hot in here, so it's nice to have a good pull on something refreshing. Right, so I suggest you join me and get something cold. Doesn't have to be cider, could be anything. So here we are. So what I've done is, in the end, I decided to set up my modern Hornby loop, because I think as this track, the track this should have had would have been the System 6, but the early System 6, which I've got some of, and you don't see much of it, and I think the reason is because it's terrible. The fish plates are those tiny fish plates, and I remember it when I was a child. So we're going to run it on this, which is the nearest equivalent. We'll wind this up all the way, couple her up, and off we go. So you'll see this is not connected. We've got the clipper here, but there's no need for that. That's running pretty nicely. It's not super fast. There's a little bit of jitter there, I think that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just stop that. And I haven't joined the track properly there, so we'll redo that. Start her up again. Yeah, that's much smoother, much better. I've not properly clipped that in there. So that's not bad, is it, really? So we'll stop it, and then we'll give it another wind, and we will see. Yeah, give it another one. That's not actually that bad. I mean, my first set when I was a kid, the first proper set was the Freight Master, or no, it was the Freight, some kind of freight set with a Ginty, but a horrible battery controller. And before that, I'd had a Clockwork set like this with proper track, not the plastic track, but it was the one with the rubbish fish plates, and I used to set it up on the carpet. Well, my mum used to do it for me because I was only about 3, and it was too much for me to set up. And it was a loco like this, but I can't remember what colour it was. I can't remember if it was one of these or the ones with the cheaper moulded wagons. I just can't remember, but it did have the proper track. So anyway, let's start her off again. I mean, that's alright, isn't it, for a Clockwork set that is, what is it, 1973 I think this year was, because of the Hornby Railways logo. That can't be any older than that. Although this loco came out in the late 60s, and these are like flying wagons. So it's nearly as old as I am. Not quite. That's actually, I mean, what is nice, now I've oiled it, it's running, a lot of the Clockwork stuff I've had over the years will run 1 or 2 laps and then it will just stop. While it goes really fast and then it will stop. But that's not too bad, is it? That's all right, that. So we'll bring it back round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try. We've got a couple more of these from my junk bin. So this one's a bit broken, but it's the same number. It's a similar age. This is the same body. I think this one is from a later set. I've actually replaced the coupler on it because it was all snapped off. You can see that's still got some winds in it. That's the thing with Clockwork, if you're pulling a train you will find that there's still winds to go. I mean, like I say, these were the first things I had. But my main, these days, my main interest in Clockwork is the Gauge O stuff, so like this, which is a completely different kettle of fish. But we're going to cover that in another, we'll cover some of that in another episode. So let's see if this red one is any good. I don't think I've wound it up, have I? I think I've just put it on. Let's wind it up. No, that is wound up. The fun of Clockwork. There you go. So, a lot of the later Clockwork sets had sort of these kind of wagons, the single piece with those kind of couplings, and I can't remember what I had as a tiny child, whether it was this type or whether it was this type of Clockwork set, and they kind of overlapped in the early 70s. Yeah, so this is a Brucey day, this. So that one's actually run okay. I mean, I got these ones, this one and this one. You can see the chimney's broken off. These are kind of like when I buy up boxes of crap, either from eBay or from, you know, maybe at a show where you get like the bargain and it's got 1 or 2 good things in it, and then you get a load of silly things as well. And I got a load of really rubbish Clockwork stuff, and I got them all. I mean, they seem to be. None of these worked when I got them, but they seem to be all right now. I mean, they need a bit of coaxing, but there you go. It's going to go. So yeah, I'm putting this away because these, I don't like these. I mean, they did a lot of sets like this, including some Thomas Clockwork sets. You know, and some of the TCS people do collect these. Well, you know, I respect that, but they're not really very good. So this particular set was one of the ready-to-run ones, and the whole idea was that you would get some track and you could replace the locomotive with, you know, by a controller and an electric loco, and then upgrade. Actually, that's much more fun than I thought it would be, because a lot of Clockwork stuff that I've had, I've got a lot of Clockwork stuff in my collection, and a lot of it will only run for 1 or 2 laps, and it will run at a ludicrously high speed, where it's almost coming off on the corners. And the thing about the Hornby Gauge O, the ones I've got, some of them are better than others, but the problem is you tend to find that they will go really fast and then they will suddenly stop because they can't cope with the load of pulling. So the thing is, if you've got big O gauge tin plate coaches, it's much harder. And I think the thing is with Clockwork, it's all down to torque, isn't it? You can get the spring to unwind slowly as you like, and you can gear it down. And if you've got an automatic watch, you can run for 2 or 3 days, but it's only moving a tiny, you know, hand, a pair of hands or whatever. Whereas if you're trying to pull stuff like this, so there's a lot more you need in terms of torque and energy and everything, and the physics. As much as I love the Hornby O gauge, I think there are limitations. It's a very old system, whereas this does seem to actually. This is not so bad, is it? I mean, let's start this off again. Oh. Right, here we go. So you get a few laps out of this, and it won't be at a ridiculous speed, which is nice. I tell you what, the cider's going down nice tonight because it's so hot in here. I have to say, I'm quite surprised at how many laps you get out of that, because, as I say, some of the older Clockwork stuff, you don't get very many laps. And most of the ones you do get are at a scale speed of 300 miles an hour, but this is alright. Obviously a bit toy-like. But there we go, so that's kind of nice. I like that. Almost reached for the controller there. So there we go. So I haven't played with this 00 gauge Clockwork since probably 1974. So what's that, 52 years. I don't even remember. Look at that fly. I don't even, what a cheeky fly. I don't even remember what colour my locomotive was, or what type it was. So these are what they call the International Tank, and I've got, it just so happens I've got 3 of them. One thing about these you have to remember is that the what they call the, I'll show you one of these, what they call the tank, what do they call that one? They call it the tank top or something. It's something, and that top there was designed to let the spring unwind to give it more room. So the thing about these locomotives is when the spring is fully unwound, you can't fit the chassis into the body because it doesn't go in. So there is obviously some restriction here, but none of the chassis I've got fit this body. And I've got this chassis as well, so just to show this is what, I don't even know what this is because this lever is so short, I don't even know what that goes on. It's not one of these because it's nowhere near sticking through there, even though it's got the same kind of fittings. So there must be, this must be from, it's got, and it's also got no, there's just wheels, there's no rods, no connecting rods. This is obviously out of a much simpler and more crap thing. Let's just wind, I'll tell you what, let's just wind it up fully. And it's actually got a thing on it. Let's just run it without, let's just for fun. Because this is the whole point of this is fun, isn't it? Let's just put that on the track, see what it does. So there we go. I think it will run. Oh yeah, that's not that happy, is it? And the motor's working, but it's got no traction. So I think, oh yeah, okay. Let it go on its own. So I've just noticed on that side it does have connecting rods, so they're obviously missing. It's fun, isn't it? I mean, Clockwork can be a lot of fun. It really can. Look at that. Awesome. I mean, I could try and put that body on it, but it really doesn't fit. I'm just seeing if there's anything else in my box of Clockwork stuff. So no, there isn't, but so a lot of my Clockwork stuff is tin plate, and that includes Hornby O gauge. So the smaller sets I've already reviewed, but the bigger sets need a lot of space to set up. And I've actually got you may have seen one of my shorts, I've got a remote control one that you can shunt with and everything. That's got a chassis with a battery and RC control. But I've also got a lot of kind of really old, kind of odd tin plate Clockwork stuff, and I haven't featured it yet because some of it is in very poor condition, and it just isn't working. It's very frustrating that it doesn't work. So actually this set I'm actually really happy with, because with a bit of minimal servicing, this is actually working really well. So let's do one more loop with this. So here we go, one more go. Yeah, I think I'm quite impressed with how well that runs. given its age. I must say that when I got my battery powered set when I was about 4 or 5, it wasn't, I never thought it was as good as my Clockwork set. It just wasn't. That suddenly stopped, so I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, it's obviously not perfect. So let's just, there's still a couple of issues. I've given this a really good lube, but it probably could do with a bit more attention. I think there's an issue with that bit that is like a inertia thing that stops it from running when you do the switch. But yeah, I had a train set like this when I was a kid, and then I upgraded to a Hornby set with a Ginty, but because it had the battery controller and it used those doorbell batteries, it was never as successful, and a lot of the time I went back to using whatever Clockwork loco I had. I can't even remember what it was now, because, you know, once the batteries run out, and they cost a lot of money. As a kid you couldn't afford them with your pocket money. They were like 4 weeks pocket money worth of batteries or something like that. And yeah, I don't know why I never got a mains controller, but I think they were, you know, maybe it was just one of those things that were quite expensive. But yeah, so these are my first train set was one like this, and I remember it being good, and actually this is pretty good, I think. So there we go. Let's get some running shots and wrap it up.